So the Ninth Circuit is now letting California get away with outright defying the Supreme Court and banning concealed carry in the entire state. This is something that is infuriating, and we need to talk about this complete concealed carry ban that's going to take place tomorrow. So let's talk about what is happening. But real quick before we jump into this video, if you think California needs to stop violating the Second Amendment and needs to be held accountable for those violations, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. So as I mentioned in the intro, in this video, I'm going to be talking about something that is huge out of California that not only directly defies what the Supreme Court recently said in Bruin, but also directly violates the Second Amendment. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, a motions panel, currently is letting California implement their new concealed carry law, which is going to start tomorrow and will ban concealed carry essentially completely in the entire state of California. Even if you get a concealed carry permit under this new law, you're not going to be able to legally carry concealed. So for millions of California gun owners and concealed carry holders, this video is directly going to impact you. So please make sure you're sharing this information, pay attention, because this is critical. And starting tomorrow, concealed carry is likely going to be illegal. So the case we're going to be talking about is the May v. Bonta case. This is a case myself and Reno May joined as plaintiffs to sue the state of California because of that new SB 2 law that is now potentially going to go into full effect tomorrow. Recently, we received a big win by a federal district court judge, Judge Cormac Carney, who granted a preliminary injunction against various aspects of California's new CCW restrictions. But as we all knew, the state of California was not going to sit quiet. They were not going to let this sit. So they immediately filed an appeal and then also sought an emergency stay of that preliminary injunction. Essentially, what they sought is a stay on that injunction so that they can fully put in place the new SB 2 law this upcoming year. That emergency stay motion went to a motions panel in the Ninth Circuit, which is a randomly selected rotating panel of judges that rotates every single month. The question was, who were those judges going to be on that motions panel? And ultimately, what would they do? Were they going to grant the emergency stay? Were they going to stay that injunction by Judge Cormac Carney? And were they going to let California put in place SB 2 this coming year? Well, we recently received an order from the Ninth Circuit motions panel, and it's not good news at all. Judges Rawlinson, Bybee, and Hurwitz granted the California request for an emergency stay. Essentially, actually what they did grant was an administrative stay on the injunction, which means that unless there is further Ninth Circuit intervention, SB 2 will go into full effect starting tomorrow. This would mean that even though you went through the CCW process, you paid your fees, did the background checks, did the training requirements, waited, did all that you're vetted for, well, California through SB 2 is going to still backdoor ban concealed carry statewide. They're essentially going to make your permit absolutely useless because you cannot legally carry concealed anywhere in the state because of their hyper restrictive sensitive location restrictions, and then also that catch-all provision that will not let you carry in private property unless you are expressly told that you can. Now, I'm going to try to be as precise as I can in this video, but to be honest, I'm not happy at all. This is something that is very upsetting, especially coming from a California gun owner like myself, someone who's directly involved in this case. This is not good at all. This is directly showing how corrupt California is, how they are outright willing to defy the Constitution, violate our Second Amendment rights, and how there are judges in the Ninth Circuit and our own court system is potentially corrupt in helping these people violate the Constitution and put in place these restrictions, which, oh, by the way, were directly told were unconstitutional by the Supreme Court. Now, the order from this motions panel states that the request for an administrative stay contained within appellant's motion for a stay pending appeal is granted. The motion for a stay pending and the supplements, responses, and replies thereto are otherwise referred to the panel assigned to decide the merits of these appeals. The district court's preliminary injunction issued on December 20th, 2023 is temporarily stayed pending resolution of the motion for a stay pending appeal by the merits panel. In granting an administrative stay, we do not intend to constrain the merits panel's consideration of the merits of these appeals in any way. The existing briefing schedule remain in effect. So you may be asking, what does this mean? Well, this motions panel weren't even brave enough themselves to issue an order on the actual emergency stay request that was being sought by California. What they decided to do is issue a temporary administrative stay. They then decided to punt the issue of the emergency stay to the actual merits panel in the Ninth Circuit, which is going to be a 3-judge panel that's allegedly randomly selected that will then hear this case. So the motions panel essentially did a very cowardly thing. They weren't even willing to fully issue an order on the actual emergency stay, which is kind of their job because they're the motions panel. What they decided to do instead is just grant an administrative stay and then punt the actual motion for emergency stay to the 3-judge panel that we're still waiting to see who they're going to be and ultimately what they will do. Now, I will say, contrary to what you've seen people like Gavin Newsom and some other people and other liberals say, the motions panel here did not issue a decision upholding the constitutionality of California's concealed carry ban. In fact, the motions panel really didn't say anything at all. All they did is grant an administrative stay and then pretty much just tuck their tails and run as fast as they could from this issue and just punt it to the merits panel who's now going to review this case. Now, with all this, there is still a slimmer of hope, but I'm going to be honest with you guys. I doubt it's going to happen, and I don't think we're that lucky. The merits panel, who is now in charge of this case, can still deny the emergency stay that's being requested by California. They could uphold the injunction by Judge Carney that was issued and then pretty much prevent SB2 from going into effect. And again, that would prevent it from going into full effect tomorrow. However, as of right now, of me filming this video, it's midday right now, the day before January 1st, right before the New Year's. And as of right now, I've kind of been holding this video. Didn't want to comment on it. I know I've seen some videos out there, people are talking about this, but I was going to hold on this video, wanted to see how this would play out. But as of right now, nothing has happened. And I don't have a lot of faith that the Ninth Circuit is going to let us be that lucky and prevent SB2 from going into full effect tomorrow. So again, I think the likelihood is that SB2 will go into full effect tomorrow, which means essentially say goodbye to being able to legally concealed carry in California, even though you went through the permit process and even though you have a valid and legal concealed carry permit. Now, for those who don't know SB2, who aren't aware with the laws that are going to be put in place, you need to pay close attention because this following information is going to be very important for you so you understand the laws going forward after tomorrow. SB2 first enhanced the training requirements in California. It changed the class requirements for new CCW applications from 8 hours to 16 hours, and then changed renewals from 4 hours to 8 hours. SB2 says that issuing agencies can issue a permit if the applicant is not a disqualified person. So really, this is just them doing a new determination of good moral character, which is not supposed to be allowed under Bruin. So there is one significant issue with SB2 and the whole training requirements. Let's say you go through the process, you go through your background check, you get your permit, you pay your fees, you do all that. Well, even under SB2, the whole purpose of this new law is to make your concealed carry permit absolutely useless, because SB2 and what the state did is they put in place a super restrictive concealed carry location restriction and pretty much made everywhere in the state of California off limits to concealed carry. SB2 has a specific list of sensitive locations, and then they also have a bunch of catch-all provisions that makes any privately owned property off limits unless the owner of that property posts a sign outside expressly saying that it's legal for you to concealed carry at that location. If you look at the list of sensitive locations outlined in SB2, it pretty much means that there are going to be very few locations, far and few between, where you could legally concealed carry. In fact, the sponsor of the SB2 stated that probably the only places that you could legally concealed carry may be some sidewalks, but even if you look at the language of SB2, that's not entirely true either. There may be some sections of sidewalks you could concealed carry, but if you cross maybe a sidewalk of a restaurant that serves alcohol, well, then all of a sudden you are breaking the law. So that's what we're now facing going into next year because of this administrative stay. And it brings a lot of issues, and just me personally, and I know a lot of people are asking me, what do I do going forward? Well, really what the Ninth Circuit is doing here and what California is doing here is putting a lot of law-abiding patriots, just good people, normal people at a lot of risk. Because I know there's a lot of people who maybe aren't even aware of SB2, and maybe some people who are aware of SB2, but they're going to decide to do what they have to do regardless to potentially defend themselves and their families. They've gone through the process, they've done the legal CCW permit process, but then all of a sudden because of SB2, well, now California is saying, well, even though you went through the process, you still can't legally carry. So a lot of people are going to have to make hard choices going forward. Of course, I'm not giving you guys any legal advice with this video, but this is something that is serious. It is going to put millions of people at risk, not only of being convicted of breaking California's law under SB2, but also put a ton of people potentially at serious risk, serious injury, or potentially death, because a lot of people may decide, hey, I can't concealed carry anymore, even though I have a carry permit. I can't carry because of SB2. And then what happens? Those people are not going to be able to act in self-defense to defend themselves or others. Hopefully within the next 12-ish hours, they decide to step in and prevent SB2 from going into full force and effect. But if I've learned anything from dealing with these cases, being in California, dealing heavily with the Ninth Circuit, I wouldn't get your hopes up. Make sure you're sharing this video around. If you have other friends or family who are gun owners in California, who concealed carry in California, share this video to them because this information needs to get out there so people are at least informed about the current status of SB2 going forward so that they can make an educated decision for themselves of what they want to do going forward. And of course, if anything else develops, I will let you guys know. But regardless, thank you guys so much for all of your support. And never forget, this nation was built by armed scholars, and this nation will be maintained by armed scholars.